All right, we will note that. We can make any approval with that change.
Wonderful. Any other comments for discussion or a motion for approval?
Motion for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll do the roll call for that approval. Board?
Yes, affirmative. Sorry.
Abdullah?
I'm not sure how I should really vote, just because, like, you said this was from November.
It is the standing body of a commission reviews and approves the minutes of a commission regardless of what commissioners were on it at that time.
Was I privy to those notes? I guess that's what I'm.
I think that they were sent out an email. You're welcome to abstain if you.
Yeah, I'll abstain just for now.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Carver?
Aye.
Ziegler?
Approved.
And next will be the minutes of the annual meeting of the commission of March 2023.
Wonderful. Any comments, discussion on the March 2023 notes? I believe it was the 22nd of March. Barring none, is there a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve the March 22nd minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second the approval of the March 22nd minutes.
Okay. Roll call for that approval. Board?
Yay. I finally remember what I was supposed to say.
Abdullah, were you able to review those?
Yeah, so I'm in favor of approving those, yes.
Okay. Carver?
Aye.
And Ziegler.
Yay.
And
the motion. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yes, and then the Civic Design Committee meeting minutes from March of 2023.
Wonderful. Is there any comment or discussion on the Civic Design Committee meetings from the March meeting? And with that, is there a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the March meeting minutes.
I will second.
Okay. Roll call for that approval. Ford?
Yay.
Abdullah?
In favor, yes.
Carver?
Aye.
And Ziegler.
Yay.
All right.
Awesome. And then it looks like next we have the correspondence. So any received correspondence and public comment.
Commissioners, there was no received correspondence. If any member of the audience wishes to make a general public comment, not on any specific agenda item, they can raise their hand at this time. And seeing none, we can move on from the correspondence section.
Okay. We are into the hearing and action agenda item. We have 4 items on the list that were provided in the documentation, the preliminary review folders. Do we need to invite discussion and or a motion for approval on each one?
Yes.
Okay. So we will begin with the Allegheny Landing fencing project with the applicant from River Life. And is there any comment or conversation? Go ahead. Sorry.
We have we have Maria Riley from River Life, who can make her introduction. Maria, does anyone else need to be promoted to a panelist?
Sorry, Matt Galuzzo is also in the waiting room.
All right. And you are, we can bring up that presentation, those couple slides for this. And if you would like to make your introduction at this time, commissioners, this project received preliminary review in April 2023.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I haven't been before the commission before, so I'm not quite sure what to do. River Life is working on two different projects, one at Allegheny Riverfront Park and one in Allegheny Landing. We're in the process of restoring, renovating both parks, and this is coming out of a broader concept that we formulated through a planning study, completing the loop. And basically, these projects, including the fencing that we're going to be talking about today, are part of a larger room that we're calling the Sister Bridges Experience. And the reason why we'd like to install this fencing is to create a visual connection between the two parks on either side of the Sister Bridges and the 6th and 7th Street bridges, to sort of create the four walls of a room. So the existing fencing right now, if you can't tell from the photograph, but there's about a 15 foot drop behind it down to a fishing dock on the Allegheny. The current fencing is not adequate for safety. It's in poor condition. It's concrete bollards that are sort of faltering, and with chain strung between them. I don't know if you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, Maria, you can go through some, a quick overview of the details, but the commission has reviewed the entire packet of materials. So if there's nothing new to, offer or an update.
No, there's nothing new or an update.
Okay.
And I'll just share really quickly that this is a partnership between us and the city. Obviously, both parks, Allegheny Riverfront Park, Allegheny Landing, are city parks. And we've jointly restored the dock with the city this past year. This fencing is really the finishing touch on this phase of this project, which is part of a $15 million repositioning of that Sister Bridge experience. So really excited that we can put a cap on this phase today.
The only other thing that I'll say is that if you go back to that last slide, those transparent sections are not going to be happening as part of this original installation. We're potentially going to come back as part of the restoration of Allegheny Landing Park and insert some transparent panels, but they will not be put in at this point.
Thank you so much. I think there was just a few comments on the review, all looking to be in favor. I don't know if any commissioners want to verbalize any of their specific comments.
I do have a comment now. If the panels aren't going in as indicated on the drawings, what is going in? Is it just going to be more of the consistent panels?
Yes, it's going to be the historic fencing.
Okay.
Barring any other comment, I believe we can take or move into a vote for approval. Is that correct?
Commissioner Ford, let's just invite any members of the public to make public comment on this project, although I do not see any hands at this time. If anybody has any comment to make, please use the raise hand function. And I see none, so.
Wonderful. Are you able to tell us generally how large the public attendance is, or is that something we find out afterwards?
No, you should be able to, oh, I don't know if you can toggle, but through the participants, using Zoom, it goes from panelists to attendees. So there's 12 panelists and 11 attendees currently.
Wonderful. Thank you. I found that. Barring any other conversation, is there a motion to approve this application?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second.
Right. Roll call for that approval. Ford,
Aye.
Abdullah,
Yes, in favor.
Carver,
Aye.
Ziegler.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing everybody. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Next, we have the Three Sisters Bridges Interpretive Signage Project.
And this project received preliminary review from the commission in April of this year. And it also had received a conceptual approval in February of 2022 from the previous Art Commission.
Is the applicant present, or the just need a
I think we're having some technical difficulties with the stream, so we have a couple people doing a few things here. So I believe we have Jesse Belfast and Mike Brodelsky. Does anyone else need to be promoted? Jesse or Mike, you should be able to unmute.
Yeah, I believe it's just the two of us.
All right.
Okay.
Jesse was gonna speak for us.
Okay. I think I'm on and unmuted. Looks like gotta get my camera on. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll just give you a quick rundown on where we are since the last hearing that was held. We had approval for the location and number of signs with the conceptual hearing. And so the new information we have to present now is the drafts of the actual 3 signs. And on this location map here, we've got 2 locations where these signs will be installed. Location A, we have 1 sign that will be installed next to an existing sign on the Sisters Bridges. And then at location 2, we have 2 signs that will be side by side. All of these signs will be mounted to the railing similar to the existing sign. And just conceptually, we try to match the design of these signs with the existing so that they would appear uniform, which means that we matched the color, the font, overall layout with that sign standard that was at this point, it's an earlier design that Friends of the Riverfront used. And I know there were some earlier questions in the conceptual review about that. And as we go forward, if you've got follow-up, happy to answer those. So the next slide here is a rendering of what the installation will look like. Again, on the left, we've got the proposed sign. The existing sign here is to the right of the proposed sign. And then and location B, which is between the Warhol and Carson bridges. You can see the new signs side by side there. So this is first sign, which is site A. this sign's theme is to deal with the history of Allegheny County's engineers, large construction of public works that went on in the 1920s and early 1930s, of which these bridges were a part. And it also deals in particular with Stanley Rausch, who was an architect that participated both with the Sisters Bridges and some other signature bridges throughout the county. Next slide, please. So this slide here goes into further detail than what we have on the existing sign on the technology and the historic significance of self-anchored suspension bridges. And we also compare the bridges in Pittsburgh with some contemporary bridges, both slightly before and slightly after, to give some context internationally on this very rare bridge type and how our bridges in Pittsburgh fit in with that. And next slide. And this third slide, this was specifically requested, this topic, by the Pennsylvania State Historic Preservation Office. They wanted us to explain what the current rehabilitation of the bridge meant to the historic significance, how we impacted certain elements of the bridge that are character defining. And so we explain a little bit about why the rehab was done, some improvements we made to the bridge to help reduce future maintenance and deterioration of some elements of the curb line. We talk about the connection methods with rivets and bolts, and that in particular is an item that's important because all of these signs are being done as mitigation for an adverse effect that was caused by replacement of rivets with bolts. And so the Preservation Office wanted us to call out that element in particular and explain to the public how this project changed that character defining feature of the bridge. And lastly, we've got a call out here on the lighting, which is part of our restoration scheme. We replaced some 1970 era highway style curb head lighting with historically appropriate lighting. So that's an improvement that was made based in part on historic precedent, and we use context sensitive designs for that. Okay. I know we've got that's sort of an abbreviated overview of what we're doing, but I'll be happy to answer any questions if we've got follow-ups from things that were raised at the conceptual hearing last month. And I submitted some written comments, but please let me know if you've got any other remarks on what was discussed.
Commissioner Abdullah has their hand up.
Yeah, I had a question as it relates to the signage. I guess my question is more about accessibility in terms of, like, if a person with disabilities is blind, how would they be able to access the information on the sign? Is there like any audio portion that would go along with those? I assume not, but just asking to see, you know, if that's something that, you know, has gone into that process.
No, we're not planning to do any audio component or any Braille component. And we did speak with representatives at the National Park Service to get some insight on how they deal with this type of interpretive signage. And they typically don't include Braille elements. And at this point, the sign standards for the rest of the riverfront trails that are part of the Three Rivers Heritage System do not have any Braille on the new signs that are being constructed elsewhere. And so the short answer is no, but we are being consistent with what's currently being done by Friends of the Riverfront.
Okay, I guess that answers my question. I have one other follow-up, just real quick. So in that case, what would be proposed at a person who's blind? What would they do to be able to access the information?
Well, at this time, we don't have any way for them to access the information.
Okay.
And a follow-up to that question, did the NPS provide any background as to, like, I'm sure that's a part of discussion as to like what to include in sign standard? Did they say any reason why they don't, or if it's cost prohibitive, or if it, like, what is the general reason why that may not be a standard that NPS uses?
I think it's partly for interpretive signs that are location based, where you're viewing what is being written about. They don't have anything in their accessibility standards for Braille on that type of interpretive sign. I'm not sure if that's because of cost, or was a policy decision made for other reasons. In signs that are located indoors, like in a museum setting, it is more common for Park Service or museums in general to have an audio component to those signs.
Commissioner Ziegler, I think that your written comment revolved around this issue as well. Did you have any additional comment or questions?
No, I was just wanting to know how it was resolved, and it sounds like it's not going to be included. I did want to know, were there any community comments at the DAM meeting in February?
Yes, there were. In fact, there were two comments that Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership brought up. The first was a similar Braille comment to what the Commissioner Abdullah just raised, and we provided a similar response with the correspondence we did with Park Service. We also got a question from them regarding maintenance, and our reply was that these signs, the county is constructing them as part of this project, but any future maintenance would be Friends of the Riverfront's responsibility. In other words, these signs will become part of the larger trail system that they maintain. And so at the time, Downtown Partnership said that they may follow up directly with Friends of the Riverfront to see if what their thoughts were on maintenance, but I do not know if they actually did that. When we followed up recently last month to get a support letter from the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership, the staff head who was leading the effort in January had been replaced, and the new head of that group did not have further follow-up comments in that regard for us when he provided that letter.
Commissioner Abdullah, does your hand still up for another
Yeah, I
comment?
just have one comment. So, I mean, obviously, as he stated, it's not going to occur, with these signs, but I just wanted to make the comment that it would be nice if there was some kind of technological means, like a QR code or something like that, where a person who's blind could actually use, a smartphone handheld device to actually scan a code that would take them to a website that would actually break down the sign for that individual to make it accessible. So that's just something I would recommend, if it's possible, to, include that in the future signs. That would really be helpful, because, obviously a person who's blind, deaf, et cetera, they're also members of the public, and, we want to make sure we're including them as well in terms of this public display, so to speak.
Absolutely. I might actually follow up on that comment with not just physical disabilities, but also language accessibility, and thinking about folks who speak and read in different languages. I do think, as a suggestion in the future, particularly for Friends of the Riverfront, who would be hosting and maintaining these signs, I guess one question, I don't know if there is a online kind of sister component to these signs. I assume that, like, you'd be able to go to Friends of the Riverfront's website and find similar information about these signs, or is this information only at the locale? If you know, you may not know that.
I don't believe there is such a site, and that's in the past. This project is in part sponsored by PennDOT, and in the past when we've done signs elsewhere for PennDOT projects, they've typically not included QR codes because they had some issues with the web addresses being hacked, but also there's the larger concern they had with the need to host and maintain that information over time. And these signs typically are around 10 to 20 years, and they quite often, to be frank, don't have the staff to maintain those websites for that duration. So that's sort of some background on why we typically don't put QR codes, but I do understand and recognize technology is changing, and maybe there's some better solutions in the future that can be come up with where QR codes can be supported.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if they were to go to a static like text website, that wouldn't change for those 20 years, and maybe like with different languages and things. And I do think as a future recommendation, and maybe some partnership with the Friends of the Riverfront, it seems like something, if they're going to have a website and they're managing the maintenance of the signs and things, it's the cost of adding a static page that just has like text accessibility might not be as cost prohibitive as like trying to install and maintain Braille on every sign and over time and upgrade that kind of thing. So I do think it's valuable to have these comments on public record, and with that, we might open it up to public comment.
And I do not see any hands raised for public comment.
Are there any other questions or comments from the commission before we open up for a vote? All right. Is there a motion to vote on this proposal?
I'll make a motion.
Wonderful. Is there a second?
Second.
And that was a motion for approval.
For approval, yes, correct.
Yes.
All right. Roll call for that motion. Ford,
Aye.
Abdullah,
In favor, yes.
Carver,
Aye.
Ziegler.
Aye.
All right.
Wonderful. Thank you. And with that, the motion passes. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Next on the agenda, as we switch up the Zoom rooms, is the outdoor dining program standards from the Urban Redevelopment Authority.
And we should have Josette Fitzgibbons, Katie Weddick, and Kristen Saunders. This was given preliminary review in April of 2023, and it is applying as a standard. Whenever the applicants are ready, the commission has reviewed your entire package, so no need to go through everything, but if you have any updates or introduction to share.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I am Josette Fitzgibbons. I am the manager of business district services for the URA. And excuse my puppy dog here. Sorry about that. So this program is something I'm going to give a very quick overview and then introduce our other panelists to answer any questions that you might have. As I think you know, this program was developed in response to the issues that we had with the COVID pandemic of restaurants not being able to basically do their business as their standard business indoors and having to move outdoors, particularly in the warmer weather months. We did, at the URA, we did receive some funding through the American Rescue Plan Act to give grants to our business district organizations to help their businesses with this activity, to do the decks and the dividers and all of the things that go into having a safe outdoor dining space. So what we wanted to do as part of our program is we're working with Kristen Saunders at Tool Design, who is also on this call, to come up with basically a kit of parts, which is what we've sent you all for review. And that is both aesthetically acceptable and affordable to the individual businesses as they're doing this work. These standards will be available to any businesses, whether or not they're part of a grant program. So we wanted to make the process easier and also make the whole permitting process easier, more accessible for a business, so that when they wanted to do outdoor dining, if they were following the standards, obviously, then they would just have to go through the standard permitting and not come through the commission each time they wanted to do an outdoor dining structure. And what we're really doing through this is providing businesses with an affordable way to expand their business. Most of our restaurants that we work with at the URA are still in recovery from the COVID pandemic, even though we feel like we're a year or two out of it. They're still recouping the costs, getting over the being closed for so long. So this is a way that we can still continue to help our businesses to be able to expand their seating, be able to do their work outside, and do it in a way that's not cost prohibitive. So at this point, we also have with us Kristen Saunders from Tool Design, as well as Katie Weddick from Domi. We have worked with Domi closely through this whole process, as well as working within the community. So I think we'll just open it up to your questions and any comments that you might have.
Thank you. I'm going to directly refer to the preliminary review comments, specifically one comment by Commissioner Carver around the Jersey barriers and the materiality of them, as well as the corrugated metal roofing. Do you have any feedback for that comment, and or Commissioner Carver, do you have any clarifications or additions to your comment?
Just that I think there was a response by the design team on my comments, so I did look at those and take those into consideration, and I certainly understand the intent behind them. And so I'm wondering, right now there's in order, because it's a standard, I know you don't want to be too prescriptive, but I think if there isn't some direction on finish, then it potentially leaves us open to having raw materials on the street, which I think could be fairly unsightly. So could there be consideration for requiring that the 2x4s or whatever exposed would be painted or stained, and some other treatment of the Jersey barriers?
I think I'll leave that up to either Kristen or Katie.
I'm happy to jump in and say I'm Kristen, by the way, the consultant working on the project. I'm happy to jump in and say I think that is a great idea. I was just in DC 2 weeks ago, and they do use a lot of Jersey barriers to border their, they also have a high level of design for their streetscape, and for these temporary installations, they do use a lot of Jersey barriers, but they do paint them either like a standard black, or some of them have some pretty interesting murals and things. This is the lowest barrier to entry barrier to entry installation. So it would be kind of the, least impactful for the business. But yeah, I think requiring people to paint the Jersey barrier seems reasonable, but I'll let maybe Domi give that the final okay. And I did want to note that it's not a corrugated metal roof. We were calling for a corrugated plastic, so it would let some light through. And we did look at options to kind of bring that roof down within the depth of the roof itself, but that would require, we couldn't find a great kind of easily accessible gutter system to make that work in a way that people could still build it with materials that are kind of available in the city of Pittsburgh without fabricating something custom. So yeah. And yeah, so I do think it's a good idea to require a finish. I didn't know if Domi or Josette, if you have any thoughts on that, but we can.
Katie with Domi, I don't have any concerns. I think our goal is really just to get some sort of standard that Art Commission is good with so that we don't have to have, every applicant coming through Art Commission individually. And so if that's what Art Commission is asking for, then I don't see that being a problem.
Justin, to follow up to that, I would say maybe a useful resource for applicants might be a list of the various artist collectives we have here in Pittsburgh. If they are considering doing a treatment or mural, like having someone, oftentimes that's hard for a business owner to be like, oh, I need an artist, making it really easy to build that relationship and then kind of letting it go from there and let the market forces do what they do. But maybe that could be something that applicants for this kind of barrier receive with the answer to their application.
Yeah.
I believe you are on mute. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We can certainly do that.
Wonderful. The other comments revolved around the traffic, vehicular traffic, mostly for public edification. Going through these, Commissioner Winston, were you satisfied with the answer, or did you have any follow-up questions around those concerns about vehicular traffic and the barriers being sufficient protection? See here. Am I calling on someone who's not here? Whoops. Of course. Sorry about that. It looks like Domi, and I apologize. I have Katie. Do you mind speaking on that just a little bit?
Sure. So I've only been with Domi about 2.5 months now, but other folks in Domi before me were working on outdoor guidelines. And so working closely with cities across the country and seeing what they were doing in terms of barriers. And so this is in part why you do have the Jersey barrier in there. And then every time one of these platforms is submitted, it will be reviewed by Domi. And so we'll be making sure, what are the speeds of the street, what barriers are where, what we care most about is kind of the barrier that's facing the oncoming traffic. So if someone would kind of swerve, they'd be hitting a barrier. You see on the screen now having this wheel stop. So we require those wheel stops to separate this kind of outdoor dining parking space from normal parking and loading. So the barriers shown here kind of in line with what's happening across the country.
Thanks for that. And then it looks like there was a comment about propane and the heating units. It seems like that was answered. Commissioner Ziegler, do you have any follow-up questions or feedback? And that was in reference to the heaters, I believe, and the requirements about heating, sheathing, and lighting they would have to be included in the streetscape. With that, are there any public comments?
We do not have any hands raised for public comment.
Wonderful. And is there a motion for approval?
Can I make a motion, a conditional motion, Tony, remind me, to incorporate a finish on the Jersey barrier and exposed wood components?
So approval with the condition that Jersey barriers be Jersey barriers and exposed wood be given a finish.
Correct.
Hmm.
Painted or stained.
May I add another one that the standard come with an appendix of contact information for artists, the artists in Pittsburgh, local artists in Pittsburgh. I think who would be the best? I guess it would be the art commission, but and we can work together to assemble that list, but I'm sure it exists and we can get that from someone.
Yeah, our office can work with them on the best way to provide recommendations.
Okay, so to consolidate that, I will make a motion for approval with the following conditions: finish, paint or stain on Jersey barriers and exposed wood, as well as an appendix to guide potential artist selection or participation.
May I second that? Am I allowed to? No.
Yes.
Am I? Okay. Beautiful. I'll second.
All right. Roll call for that motion. Ford,
Aye.
Abdullah,
Yes, in favor.
Carver,
Aye.
Ziegler. Commissioner Ziegler, I didn't hear. Oh,
She
I see.
answered, but she was muted.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And with that, the motion passes. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a very exciting thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Moving right along. The fourth and final, hearing and action agenda item is the Anderson Playground renovation presented by Department of Public Works.
And we should have Andrea Ketzel, and this was given a preliminary review in March of 2023.
Hi, good afternoon. Sorry, I missed the intro. Did you said that we were given preliminary approval?
Yes, it was given a preliminary review, no decisions attached to that. The commissioners have, reviewed your materials. So if you'd like to give any kind of update or additional explanation, please do so now. Otherwise, we can go right to discussion and questions.
Sure. So I just wanted to take some time to address a few of the questions and comments that we got through preliminary review. I'm not sure if we have any other images of the playground. Like there were, yeah, let's keep that up. That's a little bit better to look at than the site plan. Okay, so I only received comments from Commissioner Carver and Commissioner Ziegler. Commissioner Carver, you asked that we introduce the seat wall into option 2 to increase the delineation of the play areas and provide more seating. And so that's exactly what we did in this final iteration. We sort of combined the two concepts, including the seat walls that you see in the center between the swings and the 2 to 5 area and 5 to 12 area. You had an additional comment around the tunnel equipment that we were showing for the 2 to 5 age children, and some concerns around the safety of that piece of equipment. We received back that it was noted that safety and ADA are outside of the commission's review criteria. But I just wanted to address that and bring to your awareness that the tunnels are no longer being proposed as part of the design. Commissioner Ziegler had a few comments. suggesting we mix both backless and backed interior seating. Unfortunately, this rendering does not show the benches, but I think I did include some examples of what the benches will look like. We're working with Urban Tree to design a bench that has half of the bench will be backed and the other half is backless. So there will be the option to sit, in either location. If you've been to the Super Playground, there's a similar design bench there. You also asked the materiality of the play surface. So that's going to be the poured in place surfacing. You asked why the bike path was eliminated. That's connecting the playground to the bridge and the tunnel. That bike path is actually not being eliminated. It's going to stay as is, and it's not part of the scope of work for this project, but we're not touching it either. I think it shows up as an existing condition, and so that's why you're not seeing it on the plans. You asked the material underneath the stumps and the benches. So for the benches, those will sit on concrete pads, and the stump steppers are going to be on the perimeter of some planting beds that will have mulch underneath them and plants to the interior. You also suggested picnic tables in the shade, as well as making sure that they adjoin the other paved surfaces, so there's not grass in between. And I think you'll see in the site plan that was previously up that we did address that in this final design. And then another comment around accessibility, which again is not part of the commission's criteria, but I'm happy to address it once we get into discussion of the play equipment and some of the revisions that we've made since preliminary. So that's the extent of the comments, and so I'm happy to open it up to conversation and additional questions.
I just wanted to clarify for the record that those initial comments were from Commissioner Winston and not me. Just
okay, that's good to know. They show up as under your name for me.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sure.
Oh, I think there's actually one comment before Commissioner Winston. That's Lisa's nose.
Okay,
really
maybe
exciting.
Oh, well, thank you.
As were my thoughts. I'm very excited about how this turned out, and it just looks really exciting and great. So I had no comments additionally. Any other commissioners present? Commissioner Abdul, I know you didn't. You may not have been able to submit written comment. Did you have any comments presently? Okay. I did cut someone off. I heard someone talking. No?
I think so.
I had a question.
Oh, okay, please.
So when is a really basic question, really simple. When is the proposed project supposed to be or come to completion? What's the ETA on that?
So once we hopefully receive approval today, I'll be able to place the order for the equipment. It does come from overseas, so it takes quite a while to get here. We have removed already the existing playground because it was around 25 years old and really not safe to play on anymore. So in some ways we have started some work. We're just waiting for these approvals to place orders and then get the construction set out to bid. So I'm hoping to have some action at least on the site work this summer and wrapped up by next spring.
And you said it's coming from overseas.
Yeah.
Where at? I'm just curious.
So the playground equipment is from a company called Compan, and I believe it comes from Germany. It's somewhere in Europe. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact country.
Oh, that's fine. Just and good to know. Interesting. Thank you.
Sure. If you want, I can talk a little bit about accessibility of some of the pieces that we selected. I'm not sure how to describe when you're in the 5 to 12 space, You can see the dinosaur in the background and the kind of rope swing to the left of that. In the foreground is what's called, I believe, an adventure dome. And it has a number of different sensory items at the bottom that are at ground level, so that a child in a wheelchair or with mobility issues would be able to access those at the ground level. We are also including the nest swing and the swing with me swing on our swing set. So those are both intended to be inclusive pieces. I may also swap out one or two of the swings for the traditional ADA swings that we have throughout a number of our playgrounds. And then I think those are kind of the specialty pieces, but of course we have to meet all of the requirements for ADA. So for every piece of equipment that's up in the air, there's a certain number of pieces that have to be at ground level.
Thanks for sharing that information.
Sure.
This is, I have one question that you may not know, maybe it's the wrong person. The plant palette, when we are planting trees and doing things in public spaces, is there any opportunity for plant identification? Like, I know it's like the tiniest sign, but understanding what's in the park, what's growing in the park. I don't know if that was thought about, or even that's even a part of
Yeah,
how.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Oh,
please, please,
okay.
I'm rambling.
Okay. Yeah, it would be cool on this project because I think, you know, we are planning to use some different plant material that are a bit prehistoric as well. So ferns and things like that that have been around since the dinosaurs. So it would be cool, I think, to include some signage to at least identify that. In terms of just larger scale identification, I know our forestry department is working on standardizing some signage for our arboretums. So, you know, once that's done, hopefully we can kind of carry that through to some other parts as well.
Thanks for
But
that.
I really like that idea. So maybe we can find a way to identify some of the plants in the park as well.
I feel like a lot of toddler parents would be thankful to
Okay.
go find the blank. Any closing comments and questions?
Now, just to reiterate my preliminary comment, it is an exciting project and kudos on your presentation. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you. And Compan is from Denmark. It just hit me.
One of those. Yeah, no, really exciting. Is there a motion for approval?
I motion for approval.
Wonderful. Is there a second?
A second.
All right, roll call for that approval. Board,
Aye.
Abdullah,
Yes, in favor.
Carver,
Aye.
Ziegler.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. And that concludes the hearing and action portion of our agenda. We are now moving to the director's report.
All right, I see we have Director Abrams on here. Director, would you care to say anything or shall I go right ahead?
I was just gonna say the one thing and let you deal with the other things, Tony. I know that if many of you may not know, but Sarah Minert, our assistant director, has left the city, and we are very saddened by that. But I just wanted to let you know that we did put out a job position notice to have a replacement filled. That position, hopefully we have a 30-day notice for that. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we will have interviews and get somebody on board to replace her. She's not replaceable, but we need somebody in here to do some work. And we're looking specifically to really kind of support a lot of the design work, right? We have, you know, expertise in historic preservation, as well as public art, we're looking for the design aspects of it. So, and that's kind of something that we've added to the job description. So it's online if you want to take a look at it and if you want to share it with folks. And I will leave the rest of the director's report to Tony. I know he has a lot to tell you, so thank you.
Thank you, Director Abrams. Yeah, and you know, big thanks to Sarah Minert, who was, you know, instrumental in many things in the division, including the getting this kind of reformatted commission off the ground this year. Thanks also to my colleagues in the Department of City Planning, Amy and Sharon, who are working in the background here, since I'm the only one in the Public History, Art and Design division at the moment. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the hearing, but you know, formal welcome to Commissioner Ali Abdullah. You know, Commissioner, would you care to introduce yourself to the other commissioners?
Yeah, so as you already know, my name is Ali Abdullah. I work for the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh. At the Housing Authority City of Pittsburgh, I'm the Disability Compliance Administrator. And I'm not sure what else to share about myself, but accessibility, as you already know, is a big thing for me because I've asked a number of accessibility questions, and I'm sure that'll be a continuing theme with me. And I'm just, you know, really interested, humble, honored to be a part of this commission. And I look forward to, you know, continued service, continued meetings with you all. I'm looking to you all, I guess, for leadership in terms of, you know, this type of work that we're doing. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. I do just want to note here that I believe we had some issues with streaming to YouTube at the beginning of today's hearing. So if anyone is joining and was listening to that, we will have the meeting is recorded separately, so we will have that uploaded to YouTube. So after today, we will have the full recording up there if anything was missed. Let's see. I wanted to mention that in the correspondence sort of email that was sent out yesterday, I noted to the commission that we did have 3 over-the-counter reviews. This is inclusive of the entire year so far. Usually they're done by month. But as we're sort of playing catch up with getting the commission into place, they were all stacked into this update. Those are available for review, and you can reach out to me if there's any questions about that. I did also mention in yesterday's correspondence that our annual procedural meeting will be rescheduled to July due to there not being anyone in the division who will be around on the date that we had it scheduled originally. That meeting is not to review any. There's no discussion about public applications at that meeting. It is strictly to discuss the sort of process that we have in place for the commission. So if you have any notes that come up between now and then regarding the process of reviewing, meeting, etc., we'd happy for the feedback then. My only other note right now is I wanted to just update the commission that our equity audit of the city's collection of public art, monuments, and memorials had its kickoff with our advisory committee this week. We have 7 really awesome community members as part of the advisory committee, and we have our researcher. And that there will be updates to the city's Engage page on the city collection equity audit shortly, if you would like details about that. That's really all I have. So if any commissioners have any last thoughts or anything to bring up, do it. Otherwise, good for the day.
This is Angie excuse me.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Angie standing in for Director Lucas with DOMI. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the commission for your review and thoughtful comments of the outdoor dining platforms. DOMI is the city department that wrote those guidelines. So we think of it as like, setting the standards for the footprint of it, but the URA really, and their consultant did an excellent job, I think, fleshing that out into practical guidelines that can be picked up by businesses to actually, improve the public space. So thank you guys for being a part of that process. And thank you, Tony, for your assistance in getting, I think, this commission's first city standard through the process. So we look forward to doing more.
Thank you, Angie.
Any other comments from commissioners?
Wanted to welcome Commissioner Abdullah. Welcome.
No comments from me. And what did you say? I missed what you said. I think we were talking at the same time. I apologize.
Just wanted to welcome you.
Oh, thank you so much.
With my motorcycle traffic behind me, but yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you all for such a great meeting. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. If there are no outstanding comments, I guess we can call for the close of the meeting. Wonderful. And at 5:06, we are adjourned. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank you,
all.
commissioners.
Everyone. Have a good evening.